Welcome to the XY Advisor podcast, where it's our goal to help you become the best financial advisor possible and drive the positive evolution of financial advice. Hub24 is an ASX-listed company with over $15 billion funds under management and one of the fastest growing platforms in the market. Neither a bank nor part of a bank, Hub24 focuses entirely on connecting advisors to a broad range of investment solutions for their clients. Discover why other advisors think Hub24 are the best in the market and access the benefits of choice and efficiency for you and your clients with their market-leading managed portfolio solution. To find out more, visit hub24.com.au. G'day. How's it going? What do you know? Strike a light. Dylan Martin here. Mate of mine, met through XY actually, and we were hanging out the other day, and I said, actually, we need to go back to the podcast from 2.5-3 years ago and do an update. So this is what today is about. Obviously, you took over a business that you'd been working in for a while, and you know, you've been making that work for you down in bustling Wollongong.
Love the gong.
Love the gong, which I think, I'm pretty sure we're actually taking the XY tour for the mid-year tour event. So
very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. Mate, so for those of you out there that don't know Dylan, mate, give us like a 30-second rundown.
30-second rundown. All right. Well, first of all, there's always a method to my madness. That's the first thing you need to know. Look, born and bred South Australian. Spent the first 17 years of my life in Adelaide. Moved over to Sydney or New South Wales in 2007 after I finished year 12. To be with my now ex-wife. We had 14 years together, 3 kids, settled down in Wollongong for 12 years now, finished university in Wollongong back in 2010. And I've had the business, or been working in the business for 9 years. I've been a part owner for 7 and a full owner for nearly 18 months. Probably over 18 months, August 18, I think it was. So, yeah.
And huge. And one of the coolest things is you hear a lot about these transition plans in financial advice. You know, you hear a lot about them theoretically, and everyone kind of like wants to do them and tries to do them. But you're one of the few people that I've seen actually do it successfully. So when we spoke about it 2.5-3 years ago, it was sort of, you were a part owner and you were looking to take over. That's now occurred.
Yes.
In amongst the maelstrom. Now, you don't get to use that word very often. Maelstrom of FASIA and the Royal Commission. So this was all unfolding as you became the sole owner.
Yep.
Mate, talk us, what were you feeling, and how did you approach both all the upheaval and being now solely responsible?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's timing was funny. You know, it was. I knew what I was getting into. You know, purchasing the rest of the business kind of on the eve of the Royal Commission, if you like, before it all sort of unpacked and unfolded. The one thing for me, no matter what was to happen in the future, was I'd been in the business since December 2010. And I'd been in just about every single client meeting from 2011 onwards. So for me, you know, we talk about acquisitions and buying books. I wasn't buying a book. I was extending my journey in the same business, you know. So I knew exactly what I was purchasing. I knew the clients like the back of my hand. Most of those clients had been seeing me and only me for the last 3 or 4 years anyway, as the other director was taking a bit of a back seat. Whilst it sounds scary on paper, there was no other option in my mind. There was no other option.
Yeah, and like I said, that is the ideal scenario. Like when I sold my business, there was another person in my dealer group who picked it up, but they didn't know my clients, and that was always sort of a difficult thing because my clients had built a relationship with me, and then there was sort of a hard landing, so to speak, with a new advisor. So in hindsight, that I just don't think that was the best outcome for my clients. I'm sure that the advisor did a great job. It's just, it wasn't the smoothest transition for my clients. Whereas in your scenario, nothing really changed, right? So as far as they were concerned, probably, it probably didn't even change the documentation.
That's absolutely correct, and I've got to give credit to the previous owner and my ex-business partner, because he was very big on the clients falling in love with the firm. Okay, clients fall in love with the firm, not the individual advisors or advisor, because as you know, if one goes away or moves on, there's all sorts of potential issues, and not only are they really want to follow that one advisor, you've got issues there as well. So him having me in all the meetings as a paraplanner, as an admin, starting off fresh, that was probably the best thing that he could have done or we could have done. And that's real life practical transition planning right there. Just get them in every single meeting so that they know you just like they know the advisor they've been working with for 10 years. So not much really changed. Branding was the same, documentation was the same. I was probably more stressed and a little bit grayer in the beard, but certainly the only thing that changed was the office move. I made a decision to move offices, which we can get into when you're ready. But that was really the big one, which was a little bit nerve-wracking because they've moved around a little bit in the past, this business. So I didn't know how they'd take it, but in the end, it was fine. Yeah.
So high level, what percentage of the clients that were in the business previous to you becoming the sole owner stayed on from their point of view by choice? So not including, say, any clients that you had moved on. I'm not sure if that existed or not, but what percentage of clients stayed in the business when you became the sole owner?
Yeah, it's a good question. To give you a bit of an idea, at that point, I'm just going to go with engaged clients. Let's forget about any very, very, very tiny amount of legacy or trail grandfather clients where there's little or no contact. Let's go with engaged clients that were signing an ongoing service agreement every year. Yeah, they're big or small. Look, at that point, there was probably around 220, 225-ish active clients, or 150, 160 client groups. I lost about 7 to 8 clients.
Okay.
And nearly every single one was either directly related to the previous business owner or a really, 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 really close friend or something of that nature.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that's huge, right? So if anyone's out there has ever bought or sold a business, they know that achieving something like 97%, yeah, exactly, is extraordinary. So yeah, that's it's definitely a great strategy. In regards to you,
I can mention on that as well. So this is really important. This is a lesson I kind of learned about business halfway through. That hurt me a lot because they were engaged clients. They were knowingly happy and with the service and the reviews and everything we were doing, and that kind of hurt me a lot until I realized. I think you might have said it as well. I might have even given you a call. I even called on a few ex-Y advisors like Shane as well. I said, has he said something to him? Has he been talking to him? But at the end of the day, they may have just been really enjoying the family feel and been hanging around for him. And I decided to put all that aside and just let it go and keep pressing forward. So I had to kind of bite my tongue there and push back the old me and put on the business owner hat and say, well, these things happen in business. And I quickly moved on. But it's a bit scary when you lose someone that you actually care about. But yeah.
No, 100%. Yeah, the one of the things with being an advisor is you really do have to be emotionally intelligent. And I definitely find that the best advisors are good with people and good with numbers. And then but the problem with being good with people is you can almost get a little bit too emotionally attached. Yeah. And it doesn't surprise me at all that you achieve sort of 98%. And then you were still looking at that 2% going, God damn it. One of the many things I love about you, mate. So what are you thinking as the Royal Commission unfolds, the FASIA unfolds? Costs obviously go up, right? We've seen them in the course of the last 10 years go from probably around $5,000 to open your doors at January 1st, and now it's probably around $50,000. And that's not just licensee fees, and it's not just PI, it's all the little registrations and everything you need to do to keep your doors open. So what did you try to do? Or actually, I'll rephrase the question.
Yeah.
How did you tackle the issue of rising costs, more responsibility, and initially a drop down in revenue?
Yep, great question. This is something I could probably go on for a very, very long time. So I'll try and keep my responses succinct. So just to answer to your direct question, but first of all, I saw this coming a mile off. And if you were a little bit cluey and a little bit forward thinking, which I think the broader XY group is, you could see expenses skyrocketing. You could see the old ways changing. So I saw this a long way off. First thing I did was look at the 35% rent increase the landlord wanted to put on us at our old office and said, just me, and at that point I had a part-timer 2-3 days a week. I don't need 86 square meters. And I moved into a very local, like down the road from our old office, a serviced office, much like the WeWorks in Sydney. I think you guys got Regis and WeWork, those sort of things.
Yeah.
I made that move, which was a humongous cost difference. I think I saved nearly 20 grand a year. Cut out the cleaning, the electricity, the multiple billings, all that sort of stuff. It's all inclusive. That was the first thing I did, and just tweaking down and becoming more efficient regarding costs. I think one of the main things that I took away was that business coaches and advisors and anyone in business often look at how do we increase profits through sales, which is important. Now, don't get me wrong, revenue, sales, income, but no one ever looks at the fat on the profit and loss statement, that what can be down. And I don't mean denying your business or denying yourself the basics. I'm talking about how do we do this more efficiently and cut costs to basically slowly reduce cost over time. And converting as many clients to email only as you can is a perfect, simple example of what we should be doing. So that's the one main thing I saw before I even bought the business.
Awesome.
And I've also had 100, like you say, licensee costs have gone up as well. I've had 120% increase in our fees, December 1 just gone. And a lot of that's been absorbed and has already been sort of worked through with what I've done previously. But it still hurts. It hurts for anyone.
Yeah, 100% increase.
Yeah. Does that help? All the unbundling of software subsidies and licensee subsidies and all the rest of it. So I do run a very lean business, and it can be done. It hit me for a 6 initially. It was really hard, but it really can be done if you're just really pragmatic and intelligent about it.
Awesome. So I guess you're on one hand you're running a lean business and you're cutting off the fat, so to speak, to compensate for the increased costs that your company was going to experience. And that's a huge, I called them like the monsters in the background eating your money. Yeah,
I think I read that somewhere.
Exactly. And the whole idea is like reducing liabilities is so intelligent because you do the work once and then you get long-term benefit from it. So it's not like you're looking for a deal every week. It's just you look for the deal once and then you take care of it. And on a business level, that is huge. And I fully respect that you've gone after that. So I guess with the decision, rather than just get annoyed at the increasing costs, you've done what you can do to offset that. And that's a huge, massively commend you for that. And then I know for a while you spent sort of the first part of your solo journey in bedding down the clients and really making sure that you had the end-to-end solution down pat by yourself before you started taking on new clients. And how long was that sort of season for?
Well, if I think you're talking about what I think you're talking about, when I was sort of isn't that phase where I just want to focus on really bedding down the relationships. Look, there was nothing overly special that I did that any other advisor wouldn't do. But for a good 3 or 4 months, kind of on and off, I just basically really shored up the relationships, even the clients that I was quite strong with, and just basically under promised and over delivered to the maximum, went the extra distance, and basically opened myself up to them, in terms of, making sure they understood that to me, they're like family. And I let them in, I let them into a lot of personal parts of my life, which is kind of normal for me because I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I think that helped quite a bit. Them going, well, he's a real person. He's a great advisor. We love him, but he's a real person. He's had a few on and off issues in his personal life that he's progressing through. So that definitely helped up to be vulnerable and just to be completely honest with your clients.
Yeah.
And the other thing which was really strange is it mixed into cost cutting as well. I had a major issue with Telstra and rediversions of phones, this new centre here and multiple phone rentals and all the rest of it. So I said, this is just too much. Scrap the whole thing. I've got my mobile for inbound and outbound. And I did that, honestly, and I opened up to a few clients to SMSs and quick replies. They just loved it.
Yeah, I've heard WhatsApp being a really popular client conversational tool now, because you can upload files and sort of link through to digital signatures and everything, and many people are used to using it. So getting rid of a landline, oh man.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, because obviously I'm kind of contactable 24/7, so you can feel a little bit suffocated some days, but realistically, again, this is about running a lean business, trying to maximize profits. And clients, they get it. You work from home one day a week, you're in the office a couple of days, you might be on the road one day. They know you can work off this little Surface Pro. They know you can work off that. They're not silly. They're human beings who understand that modern business is not 1999 anymore. So,
yeah. Have you moved any clients on because of all the new rules and regulations? Do you have sort of like a cutoff threshold now where if you're sort of under this place, then the risk to reward is just not worth us continuing to work together?
Yep, absolutely. This is the painful thing about what's happening in the industry is you've got these clients who they're not special in terms of, the fee they give you or the fulfillment of the work, but they've been with you for 19, 20 years in terms of the firm. I'll take you one step back. I did move on a few clients that were just not properly engaging with us, not respecting our offer of reviews and even our reviews and keeping accountable to the stuff we were doing. Clients I didn't really like who were quite rude to me and previous staff. I moved a few of those on last year, but this year, given the new FASEA rules and given it's just so expensive.
Yeah.
It's just so high risk to have an ongoing client.
Yeah.
Made the conscious decision to draw the line, like I spoke to you about over the break, and to slim down a little bit. And anyone in that $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800 mark a year, mostly through fun, they've had to move on. And some of those clients have been with us for 20 years before we even did financial planning.
Whoa.
But unfortunately, I say to them, I explain the changes in the industry, the costs and the compliance costs, the actual time costs. And I say for me to actually keep you as a client and keep giving the service, I'll have to nearly triple your fee. And that's not going to represent any good financial value for you. Man,
that's a huge position.
5 so far this calendar year. I've got another 6 to go.
Wow.
Now, as brutal as this sounds, a lot of those are post-only clients, and it sounds really brutal, and I'll miss the clients, but I need to think of my business and myself as well.
Oh yeah, God, yeah. Well, you're no help to anyone if you fall afoul of one of the many rules and regulations that are quite intense now, right?
Much of a risk. So I am slimming down, and also I've only got 9 post clients left, so the rest are all digital only, fully trained in digital signatures and emails. So that's been a tough decision, but one that every single client has understood when you call them and have that real kind of sensitive, empathetic conversation with them.
Yeah. How are you responding to this? And there's so many things that are changing and so quickly. I read a really good LinkedIn post the other day. I was by an advisor at Pardon?
Yours, was it?
Mate, come on. And the advisor was saying how last year it was all about sort of responding, but this year he's really going to focus on
what he can do to zig and zag around what's happening, right? So rather than complain, it's like, what do you do to go after the problem, And that's always such a better mindset. And because it's like no one is saying what's happening is always the best thing, but always the best thing to do is just to make sure that you're on the right side of what is happening and just staying ahead of the changes, which is really difficult to go through as all the rules and regulations are changing in real time. And I've got a question that I've been talking about with advisors a little bit, just I would say this calendar year. So, and that is there's new sort of requirements from platforms that you need to have their individual product signed opt-in every year. So now it's like, it's not just an individual business-wide one. The trustee needs to also know that what's happening is going ahead. How does that make you say, okay, well, the future now is just fees outside of super, so I'm going to start transitioning now? Or do you just go, okay, that's just a new part of the process?
A little from column A, a little from column B.
Yeah.
All our initial advice moving forward, the last 12 months, I've slowly started to move as much as I can off platform. So I'll do the deposit invoice. I'll do half of it through super, if of course it's super related advice and it's passing all the rules and regulations, and I'll invoice the rest as well. Yeah. So I'm training myself for that conversation and training clients. Ongoing, that's a big one. That's a big one that's going to affect the whole industry. Hand up here, 95% platform. Yeah. Not going to deny it. Do we slowly start moving them off? Potentially where the shoe fits. But I feel like we're going to need some help from a licensee and the likes to start tackling that. But for now, I'll just accept that the products providers want another form done. I'll include it in my review process and just, again, nod my head and smile, because the only thing I can do is whatever I do needs to be keeping me going along. I can only do what I can do to keep profits coming in, keep clients happy, number one, and keep clients people happy. I just nod my head and keep going. In the same way that we all try and block out the noise. Sometimes you get emotionally drawn to it and you have a big meltdown and you can't realise why we're being targeted, but you just have to block it out and think of all the client conversations where they say, we appreciate your work and we love what you do.
Yeah, man. That's a huge thing as well. I don't think there's... Infinitely. I don't think there's no job out there that is as rewarding as a happy financial planning client. Like to see the look in their eyes and the thank you that sort of just come from what they're saying to you, what they're writing to you, the way that they're looking at you. It's a really unique position and one that's so rewarding. And you're exactly right. I think for some reason, actually not for some reason, I do understand that the financial services industry was built off the back of product. And you got these large, huge companies that were making a lot of money. And so advisors, we were just taught that earning revenue via a product was normal. But like the rest of the world doesn't really, like in professional services, doesn't really work like that. And it's kind of weird, and it's kind of it's made the conversations a lot easier. But I've got a suspicion in my mind that the only reason that advisors feel like it made the conversation easier is just simply because that's how it's been done from day one. But if you think of it sort of objectively and go, okay, well, legal profession, accounting profession, medical profession, all these other professions don't receive their revenue via third parties. It's just literally client to service. And so, for example, like we pay our accountant, like substantially more than I ever charged a client when I was an advisor, right? Mm-hmm. And why is that? Like, why does he feel so comfortable with putting a large check in front of us, whereas advisors tend to get a little bit nervous and we sort of question, where the value is? And that's crazy. It is honestly crazy.
Years conditioning from our mentors, conditioning from our previous owners, or from our licensees, or our previous conferences, or from our previous, working bodies. I mean, it must be conditioning and the mindset, which has got to change.
Yeah.
And to make a point about what you just said, one thing that clicked with me over Christmas was, remember the old way of doing things. It wasn't a given for every client, but for most clients where there was value, legitimate value, you'd have the SOA meeting, you'd have the SOA fee or invoice fee, whatever it is, and then you'd have the ongoing service package. This package is pretty good for you. We think you're a gold or a silver, or everyone knows 2010, 7, 6, 5, 13, 14. It's the way it was done. Now, I still think there's a lot of merit in ongoing coaching, ongoing advice, ongoing hand-holding. A lot of what we do is hand-holding, let's be honest, and clients value that. They value the hand-holding and the convenience, because, he's so time poor, he just wants to outsource it. In the same way that I get my mechanics to do my car, because one, I'm pretty hopeless on the tools, and two, I don't have time to do my car.
Totally.
The one thing that clicked to me over Christmas was not every single client needs an ongoing service. Okay, this might be very normal news to most advisors out there, but again, conditioning. Okay, and so I made the conscious decision in my own head this year to one, I'm at capacity, so not take on any more new ongoing retainer clients.
Wow.
And two, in my head, unless I think there is enough there for me to bite into, enough value there for me to charge them, that $1,450, $1,550, $1,700, $1,800 a year on a retainer, whether it's super, a mixture of super insurance, budgeting, cash flow, coaching, investment, all in one, I will say, look, we're not taking on any new ongoing retainer clients. I think your situation's, with this good plan I've done for you, is pretty settled. Let me call you in 18 months, 2 years, and see how you're going. And maybe offer you an ad hoc review. We can come in, do a reflect, review, refresh, pull out the whiteboard again, and see where you are.
Yeah.
That's my change in mentality. Whether it's right or wrong, it's working for me right now. The pressure of having to take on all these new clients is crazy because of the mindset.
Yes.
So up front, I'm taking on initial clients, but I'm not taking on any new clients ongoing until I really slim down, or I see where we land on our feet in a year or two.
One of the things, if I was to ever open the doors again as a financial planner, would be after all these conversations I've had over the years, I would actually have a year-long onboarding and have sort of an SOA at the back end of that. So literally they would come on, and for the first couple of months, find out what it is that they want out of life, where is their current situation, and do sort of, like monthly or bi-monthly, either Zoom or in-person coaching sessions, and really set, I guess, the foundation and the education for everything, because it is quite a lot of information in a statement of advice, right?
So many working parts.
Yeah, so many working parts. And so for some reason, like, I used to always start with the SOA and then do the ongoing sort of catch them up to speed after the fact that the big piece of advice is being delivered. That's just crazy to me now. So what should be happening is getting the person in through the door, and maybe rather than having only a upfront client and only ongoing clients, maybe there's like a year to decide. So they come through the door and they get, like a level of education, and it's about them, but it's also about their financial planning. And then at the end, whenever that end is, it's like, here's the statement of advice. Here's the recommendations. This is why we're recommending it. This is what I know you understand why it is that we're recommending it. And then at that point, have the discussion. And over the course of that period, you're going to, I think, have a really good idea as to whether you want an ongoing relationship or not. And to be honest, for that 1 year, you could probably charge, I would say, substantially more than what you're already charging.
Well, that's I could be wrong if my interpretation is not on here, but that lends itself to the coaching model when you're breaking things off in blocks and you're really actually, is that right? Like it sounds like a bit of an ongoing coaching.
It's ongoing coaching and education to get up to. It's almost like you're doing like a pathway of upskilling to before you even get advice. Yeah,
roadmap to advice.
Correct.
And overlay on top. Yeah. So I don't dispute that would work.
Yeah.
I think a lot of alternative models coming out from all sorts of existing and new firms. And to be honest with you, if I had my way, I think one-on-one advice is becoming very, very difficult. And if I wasn't in a position where I had debt and I had obligations and accountability, I mean, I may look at really unwinding an online model or an online coaching model or an online course and really building up from that. I think, is it Leah Skodel?
Yeah, Shadell.
Yeah, who you had on the show a few times over the years. I think what she's doing is brilliant. And I think that every third or fourth advisor are thinking, coaching versus advice, what's the difference and how do we actually find a bit more about it?
Yeah, no, 100%. A lot of advisors actually, I've received some backlash. I always receive some backlash, you know, with regards to with regards to the podcast, you know. But our goal has always been to interview everyone and anyone, and so when we have dipped into the areas of the coaching, especially when those coaches are unlicensed financial advisors, so they're not paying that $50,000 per year to open the doors. And they're not touching statements of advice and they're not touching financial product. I've actually received a little bit of kickback from advisors saying, hey, don't talk about that. Don't even give that any kind of platform because, you know, in a way that you're sort of condoning it. And I think, well, my condoning only comes from the fact that I think advisors should be adopting those skill sets and charging. If there's a demand for it, why wouldn't the people who are best placed to provide that service be the licensed advisors? But the other side of the coin is, well, yeah, kind of like if you're not interested in giving advice and doing the whole thing, then does it make sense for you to build a small financial coaching business? I guess the only difference is I can't see a financial coaching business, and I'm prepared to eat my words here, I can't see it becoming huge or successful. That's probably my only reason why I wouldn't do that.
Well, here's the thing. So much of what you just said in that couple of sentences are grey areas, and I can see the frustrations from both sides. ASIC can barely make a stance on anything, let alone what is personal, general, coaching, you know, what does retainer look like? So I can see the frustrations. And yeah, like when you look at those models, you go, well, wouldn't it be easy if I just scrapped the $50,000 a year and did that? But then there's also, I got to give them credit for trying something different, for exploring something completely new. We're in this financial space and it's so much is happening right now. There's legs falling out, there's spontaneous combustion, there's little fires going out everywhere. So it's a very, very weird world we're in. And I just think that a lot of that comes out of the frustration that we all have, that, you know, there's just so much changing at once. There's so many different agendas. It's all very, very hard to sort of digest. So the ones that are moving into coaching, I think it's frustrating, but it's also, it's exciting and interesting because at least they're trying something different.
Absolutely.
And you know, education is good. They're trying to educate. They want to get to more people. Look at ASIC and the changes. We now have, now it's going to be less and less everyday Aussies getting some kind of guidance.
Yeah.
You can't give that cheap scaled advice anymore unless you're doing it one to many.
Yeah, 100%. And then it's got to be sort of general in nature. Yeah, I'm really, really bullish on face-to-face advice. And a part of me, yeah, like, so if I'm looking at it from an advisor point of view, I'm sort of getting to the stage where it's like, okay, well, I can see where the rules and regulations are pushing advice. It's basically to push the everyday Australian out of advice. Unintentionally, but at the same time, that is the unavoidable outcome. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I don't think it's a mark on the ethics of the advisor to adapt to that exact environment. I'm of the view that within the next couple of years, it's going to be a case of, if a client can't pay $5,000 a year, then it's probably not worth your time, effort, and focus. Like, to that extent, which obviously, like, is very different to your current business model, but like, I see it. I don't think there's no point being a martyr to ASIC. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you know, I got taken out because I overextended, but I wanted to look after more people. It's like, well, you can only do so much. You can't break the law. And so if that's where advice is headed, then maybe we should just head there.
Well, there's so much dialogue to go off in between. But if we're only charging $5,000 a year, and you're blocking out a large portion of demographics that need help. I mean, my target market is young families.
Yeah.
Switched the focus 5 years ago to 30s, 40s, and families in apostrophes there, because they're the ones that need the help with all the funky working parts. You know, mismatch insurances, no insurance, multiple super funds, budgeting, coaching, goals, goal prioritization, goals and conflicts. Investing for the future, Disneyland, education.
Not making dumb decisions.
Yeah, return to work, not making, soundboard some silly ideas, soundboard some good ideas. Let's roll with a few, let's talk about it. Return to work advice, childcare advice. There's a lot there. And my most time-consuming upfront clients are young families by a country mile. Insurance alone is so complex in navigation that But you know, how many young families are going to shell out $5,000 on an invoice?
No, 100%, man.
And they can look. Yeah, I know it's hard. There's certain cities and different income levels in Sydney and Melbourne and the likes. But I mean, we can only use down here in the Gong. There's a lot of blue collar workers, and I can tell you now they just can't.
No, I'm mirroring your frustration.
I can.
Yeah.
Broadly, if we just say it's a $5,000 market, then, it's a bit sad. But
yeah, it's massively sad. I think it's insanely sad. And I think from a consumer's point of view, like, you know, with the FASIA board having multiple consumer representatives on there, I would imagine that at some point there has to be a scoping out of a way for the everyday family who can afford a couple of grand, but not $5,000 a year to get advice. Yeah, man, it's an unfortunate side effect of all these changes. Is it's just looking like advice is purely for, let's call it, the rich. It's difficult, you know.
It's a puzzle that we're constantly putting pieces in and taking out. I think as we speak, this minute, this moment, this month, this year. You know.
Yeah.
One thing you can do in your business is try and again look at your books, look at your efficiencies, and if you can reduce your costs a little bit and try and do that to offset putting clients' fees up dramatically or you know, having to push clients out, then that might be a choice you have as well. My business is directly unique to any other. It's very simple and very, very lean. So
I think, but your business is very much a quintessential financial planning business. I mean, there are thousands of advisors that have exactly your demographic. They're the advisors that keep the Australia running. Like the middle class Australia, it relies on advisors like you. And I would say the vast majority of advisors are handling exactly your demographic. And so if advice gets to a point where, because I read somewhere, you know, like that it's on its way to becoming a minimum of $5,000 per year. And I was like, man, that's going to just wipe out so many people. So we're going to go from like 14% of people getting advice to 4%. It would be mental. It would be mental.
Yeah. There's so many factors, right? Which capital city are you operating out of? What's your lease? What's your rent like? Do you have debt? Did you start your own business and have a bit more autonomy? Are you giving complex advice, simple advice, high sums, low sums? Is there insurance there with a hybrid commission, which you're happy to take, which offsets that? Yeah. There's still a lot of factors to play around with, which is really good.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, it's take it as it comes. My mantra is just love your clients, treat them like your family, and the rest tends to look after itself, or it has for me anyway.
Mate, and I have watched what you've been doing over like a substantial amount of years now, and from where I'm sitting, I think you're doing a really good job. And the sort of the updates that you're giving me and your ability to sort of stay ahead of the curve, I think is a really good sort of example of how an advisor, despite and I'll use the word again, maelstrom of all the stuff that we're going through, someone is able to stay ahead of the game and keep sort of a positive approach a profitable approach, plan to be in business for a long time and giving advice for a long time. And it's that sort of resilience that is probably the only thing that for anyone out there trying to take down financial advice, they're probably just not considering enough, is the resilience of advisors. No other profession could go through the changes that advice is going through and be able to operate in real time under the threat of everything from tort law all the way up now to criminal law and everywhere in between. Like, it is crazy the threats that are out there now. And mate, it's always like, honestly, like to hear the way that you approach things and you move forward and stay on the front foot is really inspiring.
I appreciate that. Look, I think resilience of all financial planners as a whole group, including XY and external to XY, has been immense. We've had to be resilient. I feel like last year we all had grand plans and it just turned into survival mode. To be honest with you, I think Emily said this really well, was a lot of the little goals and track points we all had just turned into survival. But yeah, I use a lot of the pain and the frustration to try and put my back against the wall and push myself a bit higher and just keep pushing on. But yeah, the day in the life of a financial advisor is very much up and down. I had 3 income protection claims in the last 12 months. One's terminal, and it's the most rewarding thing when you hear those phone calls. We cannot thank you enough. What can we do? I didn't expect this. I didn't know it will pay. How can I help? How can I help you? Well, thank you so much. While they're in hospital, like it's there is rewards there. There is a little pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but it's just a matter of pressing on. And on that as well, I think the mental health of our profession's taken a battering just broadly across the line. Whether you're in the BDM world or the insurance world, or you're a risky, or you're an advisor, or whatever it is, practice manager, account, support staff as well. So mental health is important. It's not something to be thrown around lightly. And we should use resources like XY, like our licensees, Beyond Blue, or any organisations or support lines that have been set up through your licensee. Definitely use those, because keeping it all in is a dangerous line, definitely.
Yeah,
so, I've had a few ups and downs at the exact same time as the industry going up and down. Having a 14-year relationship breakdown at the same time I bought the business, and it all happening at once. So yeah, life can be tough. It can crush you, but yeah, use that resilience to just push through day at a time. Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
And share that with your clients. Don't be afraid. I mean, don't tell them every gory detail. They don't want to hear that. But tell them how you're feeling, and tell them what's been happening, because they're the ones that come to your Christmas parties, that come to your boardroom events, that ask, how's the kids, or how's the so-and-so, how's the trip to Singapore, or whatever you're doing in your life. They're the ones that are asking. So be vulnerable and just let them know that you've been hurting, but you're all good, or the industry is going through a big change, but their portfolio is safe and sound, and their service is not changing. Or give them some reassurance that you're okay, or let them talk to you so that you can get to that point, because they're relying on you. Your mental health goes, and then your ability to help your clients goes. So look after yourself first, I think, is important as well. Yeah,
the mental health conversation is a very tough one, and it was sort of enough to bring Sam Henderson out of the woodworks for us to have a conversation about that. Actually, Alex Vikovich did a really good article on Sam just on Friday about exactly that sort of, the shame that many advisors sort of carry, just being publicly dragged through it. Despite the fact that it was the Royal Commission into Financial Services, I swear it just all landed on advisors. And
look around.
Yeah.
Sold all the big banks are out of advice now, and we're the ones lumped with 100% increases. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy. I'm starting to sort of get my head around the UK, like what happened over there in terms of they went through something pretty intense. They lost half their advisors over the course of a couple of years, and then they're only just now rebuilding from there. Australia's already down to 20,000, depending how you measure it, but from 25 down to 20. So we're already seeing that, hopefully this year, I mean, a lot of the rules and regulations are coming into play this year, but it'd be nice to hear a positive news story this year. I'd like something like that.
It'll be great. My dealer group's been through a little bit in the last 18 months, but it's already under new ownership. There has been some really simple but effective compliance relief and just relief in a few areas. So that's always helpful for me. I mean, hopefully there's other licensees that are sort of wriggling their way back to normality as well.
Yeah.
But I think if we can all stick together and we can just rough out the storm, I think in 24 months, I'd like to think our profession will be in a better place. But of course, there's so much dialogue to go in between there. So many horror stories, so many success stories, and so many sad stories about losing experienced advisors, riskies. There's just so many stories. You really don't know which one to latch onto. So what I try and do is tune out and say, what I'm doing right now, is it going to increase profits, make clients' lives easier, or reduce costs? If you can focus on those three things, maybe you look at what you're doing if it's not going to help those three things, or it's counterproductive, like the press, looking at all the press online, which I've now blocked out for over 35 days. I've got a blocker on all those websites that were just consuming me deliberately, unintentionally, intentionally, every way possible. So yeah, if that helps, just use each other to help.
Yeah, man.
Sounding boards.
Mate, thank you so much for the update. It's really good just to dive into deep conversation with you. I find, you've always got a really good insight with a lot of this stuff, because I feel like in a lot of ways that you represent Australian advisors. Like in my mind, if I had an avatar for, someone who's gone from paraplanning through to advisor, transitioned into the owner, like that whole story, just you've got such an amazing breadth of experience, and you're still relatively young, and you're a legend as well. So it's always great to catch up, my man. So thank you so much for coming on. If anyone sort of wants to reach out, say hi. I mean, you're on LinkedIn and yeah, XY, yeah, of course.
Email, phone call, you can get me. I've drawn a lot of strength from XY in the last 4 years, and I feel like I've taken more than I've given back. So I'm always trying to give and share and help. But honestly, anyone who is struggling, just pick up the phone, because it's amazing what a 15-minute phone call can do with another advisor, just to get an insight or just to share their frustrations. It is hugely strong to lift you up. So yeah, use those around you, and we'll all be fine in the end.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming.
Pleasure, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers, bro.